too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Hello, everyone. Happy Memorial Day weekend. We are here once again with the Icon Cup Series on SRM. Usually Sunday night, this week, special edition here with the World 240 at Charlotte, bringing action to you Monday night. I'm Shane Cochran. We've got Alan Bergen in the booth. Alan, how are you doing?
Look, I'm doing great. Yesterday, 500 laps or 500 miles at Indianapolis in the morning. Watched the real race, in the afternoon. Then we went Coke 600 last night. What a race! I even got some laps in the virtual, in the open forum lobby there with the NASCAR INS series and Iracing. So did a lot of laps there, but nonetheless, the longest race on the Icon Cup Series schedule. And if last week with the All-Star and the All-Star Open was any indication what we're gonna see here tonight, I tell you what, Shane, we're gonna be in for an absolute treat.
Yeah, the guys got a little bit of a practice session in last week, as at the last minute they found out the All-Star race would be here at Charlotte. So if 240 laps weren't enough, they got even more last week. While these drivers are wrapping up qualifying, let's take a look at the race information. This is the 13th race on the schedule, not counting the All-Star race last week. 1.5-mile track, Charlotte, the home of NASCAR. We got 85 degrees, mostly clear, barely any wind. Looking good here tonight, as the drivers have wrapped up qualifying. They got a 5-minute warm-up, so we got some time to recap a couple things. Number one, let's start with the point standings. Brian Smith leading it with 4 wins on the season now. Nathan Finnegan in second with 3. Ryan Patty, Braxton DeWeese, Cody Neal, John McNeil, and Chuck Van Schaik all with 1 win, locking them into the playoffs, and that leaves Travis Gilbert, Jacob Smith, Bentley Glazer, Michael Taylor, Adam Ball, Kyle Purcell, Kyle Diaz, Zach Lockett, and Cody Eldred hunting for points. And right below that cutoff line as of now is Tay McDonald, Evan Patinko, and Sean Purcell. You know, as we take a look at the schedule here for Icon, Charlotte is the second Grand Slam race of the season, with Darlington, Indianapolis, and Bristol the 3 remaining. So we should have a great race here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of great drivers in here. And, you know, looking down the lineup, you know, up and down the lineup, and, you know, Brian Patty's got 4 wins on the year. You know, he's a very strong contender. I'm becoming a fan of his. You know, Charles Van Schaik, I feel like this could be a race where you need to save fuel, and, you know, if there's a masterclass on saving fuel, who would be the guy that I would look to? The Rocket, Zach Lockett there in that number 93 car. He's even going to be one to watch here tonight.
Yeah, and I think the driver on a streak here, Brian Smith, he won at Kansas back on May 11th. That was the last regular season race here, taking home the victory ahead of Jacob Smith and Jonathan Duncan. And he also got it done last week in the All-Star race at Charlotte. He seems to have the hot hand or the hot foot at the moment here in the Icon Cup Series, so we expect him to always be a threat. But other than Brian, Adam, who do you think, you mentioned Ryan is in there too, who else is someone to watch tonight at Charlotte?
I tell you what, even Adam Ball is one to watch. My sleeper tonight is gonna be Bentley Glazer. I feel like he's way overdue for a win.
Certainly has the feel right now. John McNeil has the fastest lap here in warm-ups. And they wrap this up. We'll take a look at the grid. But while we are here, let's take a look at the slightly different setup for tonight's race. I mentioned it's 240 laps here at Charlotte, but there are actually 4 stages instead of the normal 3, with this one being kind of the equivalent of the Coke 600. Those stages, those lap completions will be at lap 60, 120, and 180, so an even split all night long, 60 laps in every stage. We're going to expect drivers to have to stop at least once in every one of those stages, but we only have 6 additional tire sets, so if you pit more than once on any of these stages or pit in between and at the end, you're going to run out of tires. You cannot take tires at every stage end and in between every stage, so we're going to see a lot of, I would expect, tire conservation early in the race so that guys make sure they have them in the pits when they need them in that final stage, especially if we get some cautions.
Yeah, definitely take care of that right front. Don't do anything egregious. You know, make it to the end of these stages, because you're going to have to pit once in every stage. And that's what this race is set up for. This race right here will mirror what you saw last night in the real world with the Coke 600. I am excited. Shane, we got 53 seconds to warm up. I'm pumped.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one right here in NASCAR's backyard. First track I ever went to as a child with my dad. Love Charlotte. Great race. It's tight racing. It's fast racing. And that's why it's one of the crown jewel events on the NASCAR schedule and one of the Grand Slam races here with the Icon Cup Series.
Yeah, just over 20 seconds left to go. Left here warm up. These guys are making those final preparations to get settled in and get the thing rocking and rolling. 9 seconds left. Shane, I am so ready. I've been excited since last night. We could even see a first-time winner here tonight.
Absolutely. not unlike, well, he wasn't a first-time winner overall, but Ross Chastain got the victory yesterday starting in the back. It is anyone's race. Anywhere you start in this field, you have a shot. And we kind of saw Ross prove that.
Worst to first.
Here we go. Bentley Glazer, the driver you mentioned already, on pole tonight with Jacob Smith on the outside. Jonathan Duncan in third, Kevin Gunther in fourth, John McNeil in fifth, Brian Smith in sixth, Nathan Finnegan in seventh, and Patrick Colby rounding out the fourth row. Zach Lockett in ninth, Adam Ball in 10th, Chuck Van Schaik in 11th, Evan Patinko in 12th. Next up is Jake Champion will be starting 13th, Charles Wood in 14th, Brad Delph and Hollinsworth on row 8, Michael Taylor 17th, Ethan Van Colley 18th, Cody Neal 19th, Kyle Gilbert 20th, Jacob Gladulich 21st, Ryan Patty 22nd, Anthony Tissio in 23rd with Nathan Berzowski in 24th, Thomas Taylor 25th, Sean Purcell 26th, Chris Camber in 27th, Steve Tuck was 28th, Kyle Purcell 29th, Cody Eldred 30th, Robert Bloom 31st, and David Nyman 32nd. Going to round out this field tonight. As here we go. We see Glazer leaving pit road behind the pace truck. Just like always, we're starting a little bit later in the day. I think it's around 6 o'clock local sim time, which means we are going to start in the sun, transition into the night, see those lights pop on. And the track might change a little bit. We mentioned it's 85 degrees air temperature. A very warm track here tonight. So expect a big swing once the sun goes down and the moon is out.
I hope it's not a full moon because we know what happens on those nights where it's a full moon.
I guess we'll find out which one of these drivers are werewolves. So we're coming down the backstretch. Coming back to the green flag.
Well, Shane, I can tell you this right now. We're going to have to get those belts pulled tight one more time, buddy, once we get around here.
Well, it looks like there might have been a wreck in the back of the field. We've got drivers coming down pit road. To be honest, I have no idea what is going on. I saw smoke at the back of the field and then a whole bunch of drivers kind of down on the apron. Might need a little explanation here.
You need an explanation? I will go find it.
Yeah, it looks like most drivers have hit pit road. Looks like one of our in-race sources is telling me that there was something wrong with the tires in the way the session was set up. So we are going to reset and get us a new session going and move on from there. So I think while we wait for that to happen, we're going to head to commercial and hang out. Don't worry, you're not going to miss a thing once we get that new session up. We will come back live and show you all the action here at the World 240 with the Icon Cup Series on Sim Racing Media. right, folks, welcome back. After a little bit of technical difficulties with the iRacing session, and then a couple further mistakes just trying to get that session set up. You know, this can be really tough when you get one detail in the session not right, whether it's hosted or in your league. It can be really frustrating. When you go to make the next session, it seems like iRacing changes the default settings every time you get in there. So we are now up to the session we want. Drivers are lined up. I believe that the admins were able to set the qualifying order based on the initial session. So drivers should be in the same order. Maybe slightly differently. If I remember right, Bentley Glazer was on pole the first time around. So we are in a slightly different configuration than we were before. But we have pretty much all the same drivers. Looks like maybe one or two have yet to join. Hopefully they'll make it over.
I think that they're gonna fix it once they get on the track. They're gonna give these guys an extra lap or so.
Gotcha.
To do that. You know, a slight weather delay.
Yeah,
in the virtual world.
Let's kind of recap all the stuff, all the details in case you forgot it. We're here for another warm night in Charlotte. 81 degrees here with a 4-mile-an-hour wind. This 1.5-mile oval just outside of Charlotte in Concord, North Carolina. Gonna have some fun. 240 laps with 4 stages. That's right, 4 stages tonight, a little bit different than our usual 3. Those are going to come on lap 60, 120, and 180. 6 additional sets of tires. So as I mentioned, if you're pitting in the middle of the stage, which you probably need to do for fuel, you can't be taking tires then and at the stage end. You will run out. So we'll see some tire strategy through this race. Maybe even some fuel strategy on those final stops. It seems like we always have some really good pit strategy drama here with the Icon series at the end of the race. So now it looks like they are getting everybody reset where they need to be. Bentley Glazer is on pole with Jacob Smith to his outside. They're still getting sorted out in the back as we are coming towards the start. Looks like we're going to wait for another lap so they have time to get everyone sorted out.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, what a fun night. This is going to be 240 laps through, you know, the stages, the design to put you have to pit in each stage. That's what I'm most excited about. You know, we're gonna start this thing in the daytime. We're going to end it at night. And before we get going, Shane, I do need to shout out 2 birthdays today. So two of my nephews are twins. 16th birthday, both of them. Happy birthday.
All right, yeah, happy birthday.
So, nonetheless, here we are down the back straightaway.
Absolutely. Looks like they got everybody where they need to be. Again, big shout out to the Icon admins here. As I mentioned, there's nothing worse than getting in a session and realizing something isn't quite right. And props to them for taking the time to get it right. I know all the drivers appreciate that. And then taking the time to get qualifying order back where everybody earned their positions to be. So no harm, no foul, as we look to be coming to the green flag this time around. Well, cancel that.
One more. One more time. I think the real world drivers take at least 3 laps. So we're gonna take at least 3 laps.
Yeah, especially on Memorial Day weekend, you got to wait for all the helicopters and jets to get out of the way.
Well, I tell you what, Shane, let's do this at the end of stage 2, let's have the booth go silent for Memorial Day weekend for a lap.
Absolutely. As we come down the backstretch. Everybody, you know, this is one of those things where a delay like this can really get your anxieties and your nerves ramped up. You were ready to go. I mean, we almost got to the green flag before having to cancel there in the first session. So hopefully everybody's had time to hit the bathroom, get a fresh drink, and get their head on straight. These cold tires are going to be fast and slick these first couple of laps while everybody is packed in tight together. There goes that pace truck down pit road. Bentley Glazer leading them to the green flag. And we are racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the World 240. Jacob Smith not going to let Glazer run away with it too easy. We saw it in the real-life race yesterday. Clean air is king here at Charlotte.
We've already got 2-3 wide action here already here in the back. A little bit further back, Brian Smith making some move early. And Shane, you know, to your point, this is when you want to get the most out of those tires. Also, you got to protect that right front, because that's going to go away in a hurry. By the time they get to about 20 laps into this run, that tire's going to be screaming.
Yeah, where you're going to pay for it is probably turn 4. Once that right front is gone, turn 4 likes to shake your hand and say hello. Patrick Colby gives a healthy bump draft to Gunther in the 31. We're 3 wide, a little further back. I believe that's Gladulich, Gilbert, and Teseo involved with that action. The 15 has a lot of drivers tonight running a special paint scheme here for Memorial Day. That is a sharp looking one.
You love these paint schemes. I love the thunder of these cars going down that back straightaway. Jacob Smith out to the lead, up 8 positions. Bentley Glazer riding in that second position, right where he started at. And I know, Shane, you watched a whole lot of racing over the weekend, starting in the morning off and watching the Monaco Grand Prix, then Indy, and then the Coke 600 as a nightcap. What did you see in that Coke 600 that we're most likely going to see here tonight?
Like I mentioned, I think clean air is king. We saw how hard William Byron worked to defend it all night long. But if you get green flag runs, people with, you know, some tire saving strategy in their driving style can come on at the end. But I think it's going to be all about when you get up to someone's bumper to make a pass, how fast can you do it? How quickly can you get it done? As we see Glazer able to get there. Now Duncan diving to the inside of Jacob Smith.
Bentley Glazer out to 0.3 of a second lead, making a 0.3 of a second lead, if you will. And that's Jacob Smith in that number 4 car right behind him. And he's got Patrick Colby to his outside. It's going to be a battle for second. Patrick Colby knows it's a long race. He's going to have to dive back inside and take it easy, cool down the tires, and reset.
Absolutely. And we do have a special treat here tonight. One of our drivers unable to race has offered to join us in the booth, offer a little insight and some in-race reporting. We are going to be joined by the driver of the 69 car, Hanover Fist. Hanover, you got Shane and Allen here How are you doing tonight?
I'm better than I was 2 weeks ago during a race. So,
Well, we are really thrilled to have you here to offer a little insight. You know, you were actually my secret pit reporter as we were trying to figure out what happened to that first session. Appreciate the tidbits you were feeding me.
I've been there myself. I schedule for the other league. I work race Tuesdays and Thursdays in race control. That's all that crap. And I had a session go bad, and then you're in a hurry because you got people waiting on you, and you try to make a correction, and then you miss something, and you try to get. So it took them a couple tries, but they got finally all the ingredients, and then we had the delay in the beginning so that they could reline the drivers up by what they qualified in that first session.
Yeah, I love that everybody took the time to get this right. There's nothing worse than trying to rush into it, make a mistake. We actually had the exact same issue with my league last week in a league that I race control, where the first session didn't work, and then you hurry to get the session set up again, and it almost seems like iRacing changes the default settings every time you get in there, and you forget one thing or the other, whether it's damaged tire sets or something else. But we have a race back up at the front. Oh, yeah, it's always something. Patrick Colby has made his way up front to battle with Bentley Glazer. He's using the high line to do it, and he is going to clear Glazer there as Duncan comes to follow in behind him.
Yeah, Patrick Colby pulling the power move to get around Bentley Glazer, and like you said, got Jonathan Duncan right in tow, and in Hanover, we're glad that you're talking to us. We're glad you're up here in the booth, not under the circumstance that you want to be, but here you are.
Well, and again, I was racing a Michigan race when I had the heart attack, so I was lucky. My Discord group, I said, "What arm is it?" And they all yelled, "Left!" So I knew I was in trouble.
Yeah, I've never heard of anyone getting medical advice from their iRacing Discord group, but we are really glad they were able to help you out there. Had to be a scary situation for you.
Yeah, I had the near blackout tunnel thing. I thought, man, this must be what it's like to hit the outside wall. Well,
Glenn, we are happy to have you here tonight to offer a little bit of driver's insight from the inside of this Icon Cup Series. Always seems to be good, hard racing with pit strategy and door-to-door action deciding the winner at the end.
And tire mileage. A couple of these guys are real good tire savers. I was going to mention, you saw Bentley just kind of let those guys go by. He's already planning on how long he wants to run tires, and he's a sneaky one. I raced with him on Tuesdays and Thursdays too, so I've seen a lot of his strategy.
Yeah, some of these guys get a little bit loose, and we get to see. I haven't seen Bentley Glazer in a couple Tuesdays in the truck, but I know he's really focused on the Cup program here with Icon Cup Series, and I tell you what, man, ever since the Holiday Mixer Series, I was hoping that we'd get Icon here on the SRM family of leagues here, and KR, just phenomenal racing all season long so far, and no one really runs away with these races.
No, there's a lot of strategies being done. Having the groups kind of broke down, the teams in their little radio rooms, you'll hear tires and, what'd you burn them at? Oh, man, I'm pushing tires. There's a lot of strategies. And again, a lot of these guys are really patient. They have normally really good patience, but it's racing. You still get anxious.
Absolutely, and once again, we're talking with Hanover Fest here, joining us here in the broadcast booth in Hanover. Even on a holiday, on a Memorial Day, this league still manages to draw 30 cars here tonight with 28 cars essentially taking a green flag. And I mean, you guys, the Holiday Mixer Series, I want to touch on that just for a little bit. I know Shane wasn't there for that one. He came in probably, I want to say, race number 1. He was here for race number 1 in the Cup Series, but that series giving away a free charter. Was that series right there was a kind of a let your hair down and kind of do what you do, right?
Oh yeah, that I kept trying to get my free charter, didn't work. I had to pay for mine, but the fun of competing for it and making that not just an off-season event, but something to race for with in a sense a trophy, your free charter. So
absolutely, as we're on board right now with Cody Neal, the driver out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. A lot of Michiganders in the Icon Cup Series in the Upper Midwest. Cody Neal right now running in that 12th position, 5 spots down to where he's started from. This is a long race. So Hanover, how do you approach a race like this, or like the 500, these longer races? What's your prep like when you get ready to get strapped into the iRacing rig?
Patience. When you start getting to the point where it's 240 plus laps, here or the equivalent amount of miles on a Pocono or whatever, and you're going to run a long race. Well, it's like the last week I ran with the group. Was Texas? I don't know. I get lost now. But you'd see me on a restart. You'd just watch cars go blowing by me. But I knew if I tried to keep up with them, I'd burn tires off. So I just set my pace that was comfortable. It wasn't really fast. It wasn't really slow. But I knew I could save my stuff. And as we got to each of the stage breaks, I'd advanced 4 spots each time just because I saved my tires and they didn't. So strategy.
Strategy is a big thing. Right now we're watching Michael Taylor go around turns number 1 and 2. He's leading that second group there. And this is kind of not conducive to what we're used to seeing here out of Charlotte. Is 2 different groups being formed. And you got to wonder, there's anyone that could dethrone Brian Smith, who has 5 wins on the season right now. My math may be mathing. I may be a 1 or 2 off. I'm not for sure.
He's got 4 regular season wins plus the All-Star last week.
We'll go with 5 then.
Actually, there's a lot of guys that are in here that can do it on any given weekend if everything falls right. Again, you can have what looks to be a great race for 3/4 of it and then get caught up in one boo-boo and, you're driving junk or you're parked. So.
Yeah, and speak of Brian Smith, and he will appear, he has just taken the lead away from Patrick Colby, but Jacob Smith is following him through as well. We talked about how we're probably going to see some comers and goers with that tire savings and tire strategy because Colby scrapes the wall. Oh, able to avoid it there on exit, loose. That was some great driving to stay out of the 4-car and out of the wall. And it cost him a little speed, though.
And like you'd mentioned, Shane, as later we go on in these runs, that wall will definitely grab out and shake your hand. As we're watching Brian Smith. Brian Smith up there to lead. He has had that same paint scheme since Darlington. Where he said at Darlington, he goes, if I'm going to win, I'm going to keep the paint scheme because it's good luck, and it's like putting on that, that pair of socks that you love. As a driver, we say we're not superstitious, but we're superstitious.
Oh, I don't think any driver is claiming they're not superstitious.
I have my favorite pair of swimming shoes, the rubber sole, the light cool ones, that I finally found a pair that the bottoms worked really well with my Fanatec pedals,
Who would have thought swim shoes?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've got more of like a hospital socks situation for a little extra grip, but swim shoes might be the ticket.
That's all right. Trust me, I had a pair of those socks on for a week, and I hate them now.
Now, back when I was endurance racing in real life, I always said if we win, I'm not going to wash my fire suit. And lucky for the rest of my team, we never won, so didn't have to worry about that one.
Your fire suit smelled clean every week. Nonetheless, here we are, lap 29, and each of these stages are going to be, we're going to be looking for drivers coming in for pit stop relatively soon, as these stages have the pit stops built into them now. So you kind of want to split that stage evenly, as right now we're watching that 31 car, and that is Hollinsworth and Kevin Gunther battling it out pretty hard, and John McNeil getting in on the mix. And well, you might as well go ahead and insert Charles Woods into that mix right there too.
Yeah, these drivers were 3 wide just about a lap ago. And then to what you were saying, Alan, I don't know if you want to split the stage, because if you're not going to take tires, as I mentioned, you can't take tires at every stage and at every mid-stage stop. So you might, depending on the fuel mileage, you might be looking for more of a splash and go situation and no tires just to make it to the end of the first stage.
And lap times. If you're not dropping lap times, you're looking at your numbers staying up there. Going early doesn't help you. I mean, because you're still going to, as you say, not take tires. You're going to be coming out on old tires again. So it's not like you're suddenly going to, gain a whole lot of time each lap.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a look at the track map, you can see we are spread out almost 3/4 of the track. So if you're one of those cars in the back, that might be someone who does want to come to pit road and try to do a little bit of an undercut, maybe take tires just to salvage staying on the lead lap for later, because you do not want to see Brian Smith drive by you.
Well, I can tell you right now, the last car in the lead lap, the number 57 car, Taylor, he's just now coming out of 4, and Brian Smith is essentially coming into 3. So Brian Smith is slowly closing in on the tail end of the field. It's not going to be a matter of if Brian Smith catches that 57 car. It's going to be a matter of when. And that time is coming rapid for that number 57 car.
Just called pit, so he'll go right by him now.
Yeah, maybe the 57 car is not having a fun night tonight, and he's trying to get into pit road. Thomas Taylor coming on pit road, where his night goes from bad to worse. And I tell you what, guys, I race really well at super speedway, so when it comes to my 1.5 mile program, that is a program that, and a lot of these drivers across the service, if you're having a bad night on a 1.5 miles, it can go downhill pretty quickly.
See, and I suck at short tracks, and I build setups for the short tracks for my other league, but I still driving. I just suck on short tracks. 1.5 miles, that's where I'm home.
Look, I'm good on the super speedway because, well, I feel like it's anybody's game at that point.
Yeah, super speedway is more or less a crapshoot because, again, one car turns and suddenly the whole field looks like a parking lot,
Well, right now on pit road we have Charles Woods, Kyle Gilbert, and Nathan Brzezowski. All 3 of them guys are running, currently being scored 24th, 5th, and 26th on the grid right now. So pit stops are starting. Now the question is do you try to take tires or do you take gas? Because judging by their pit times, I would say that they're going to be taking gas. Charles Woods taking an extended stay on pit road, as he is up to 20 seconds right now, and the times are being conducive to a fuel stop.
He might have had a wall rub. It doesn't take much at this track to get enough to throw your arrow on.
Ooh, we had a tire lockup that could hurt Jacob Smith. As he comes on the pit road, we're going to have to check and see if that's going to be a penalty.
I see a black flag there for the Ford car. That is going to hurt him here under green flag pit stops.
Oh, that's a 40-second hold all day long.
No, I think it depends on how you play it. If you get it on entry, usually it's 40 seconds if you service the car. And guessing by the looks of it, he's going to go ahead and take the 40 seconds. If you come down and pit again, it's usually only 15 seconds. But I think those two options are probably just about the same here at Charlotte.
You know, and here's the thing coming down pit road, and I don't know if you guys are... Oh, we got a yellow.
Ooh, let's see if we can track down what happened there. Not seeing anyone spun out. Who is that? The 88 car is slow. There he is. Running that Kyle Larson, HendrickCars.com scheme.
Did he just pull Kyle Larson? That's Chris Camberton in that number 88 car.
Let's see if we can take a look back at what happened here. Coming off pit road.
I think they all were going for the same way out at the same time from the looks of it.
Well, I mean, it looks like the pace truck is already on track before this happens. I mean, I saw the pace truck was out before he even made it off pit road right there. So he must have had something else going on around the track. To bring that one out. I also see Cody Neal was involved in some contact, but again, I think this is after the caution's already out. Let's see if that same bump off pit road gets him too. It does. There is a serious crack in the pit exit there, catching multiple drivers now. Yeah, I'm seeing
again.
Jacob
I'm waiting
Smith.
to see what kind of new glitches we get at the Rescan Martinsville. You know, they do a track, and then there's always a secret glitch somewhere that either hooks the car or makes it jump or something.
Speaking of schedules, next week we are at Nashville Super Speedway as this series follows the actual NASCAR Cup Series schedule. So that's going to be a fun one, all concrete track. And so, Hanover, when are we going to possibly see you on track again?
Next week, I'm holding off Tuesday night with my Tuesday league, but Thursday I'll have already had my backup exam with my VA doctor, and I should be cleared. I'm going to drive to that exam, so I better be cleared. But I wanted to make sure I get in Thursday night. I've got a streak of 476 weeks without missing a race, and I wasn't going to let a heart attack affect that either. 9+ years without missing a week of racing.
Wow. Well, we will be excited to see you back in the car next week. And thanks
I'll be in the
again
back of the pack. That's the way I race with these guys. I tend to just go in the back and then wait. I call it the vulture. I just drive around, wait for the others to crash, and take spots.
Yeah, so we got Charlotte and Nashville next Sunday night. And then Michigan. I tell you what, Michigan's going to be a fun track. Mexico. I hope we get Mexico on iRacing before that race.
I would think they would have mentioned it. Like I said, you've already seen the up saying they're, refresh Talladega, refresh Martinsville. You would think if they were going to give it to us, they'd tease us. They teased us for 4.5 years about rain,
I like the rain. It's one of those things where I could take it and leave it. Is we got the cars lined up 2x2. Noah's Ark style behind that iRacing.com Chevy Silverado. Brian Smith, Cody Neal on the front row as we get ready to come back to green flag racing here And the sun is going to start playing havoc with these drivers as we get closer and closer to nightfall. But as we come, the Iracing.com pace car peels off on the pit road. Brian Smith, Cody Neal on the button, and we are back to green flag racing. Here we go. Grab a dance partner. Shane, guess who's in third?
The Rocket, Zach Lockett, making his way up through the field, up 12 positions. Another driver right behind him, the 81 of Evan Patinko, up 21 from the start of this race. A couple drivers really caught that caution at just the right moment to kind of save their strategy. There were one or two drivers that hadn't come down pit road yet. I think that was Patinko and Chuck Van Schaik, as well as John McNeil. They were able to make the most out of that caution timing. But Patinko now under fire from Cody Neal.
It's kind of fitting that Zach Lockett and that number 93 car has that very patriotic main scheme. But here comes the 19 car. Where did he come from? Evan Patinko going door to door. 24 spots in the right direction. Adam Ball was a lap down. I got a little too excited there. Adam Ball, the first car, a lap down. Getting his lap back to hardway here on lap number 46. 45 laps in the history books. Evan Patinko driving away a little bit from Brian Smith.
Yeah, Patrick Colby going to try to follow suit here. He is in 16th position, but under that stop, I'm looking at the pit times, about half of the cars took 4 tires, and about the other half took 4. And I think that's helping some of these drivers who got trapped a lap down, like Adam Ball, like Patrick Colby. They're both on 4 fresh tires and making them count. And that, I'd say that's certainly worth it to burn a set earlier than some of the other drivers, but to be able to save yourself from going a lap down. As we are now 13 laps away from that first stage caution, they should be in good position.
I think if you're a lap down, you had to burn that set of tires. But nonetheless, these guys are going to be getting their laps back to hardway. Now, if you're in Evan Patinko and Brian Smith, and even, basically anybody that's not a lap down, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
See, if it was me and I was riding my usual position near the back, I would have came in. If I would have taken tires, I would have just taken lefts and then went out and then tried to run a little higher line to be easy on the rights, to milk them out to the end of the stage here coming up, and then throw rights on so you have a fresh set to start that next one out. But again, not charged, just run a nice, it's a long race, consistent laps is going to be better than a couple screamers and then a bunch of terrible laps because your tires ain't there.
I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm a hot lap hero.
There's some contact there between McNeil and Cody Neal. I saw it looked like somebody maybe locked up a tire under braking. It was kind of an awkward moment there, but everybody able to keep it going forward.
Definitely Zach Lockett losing some positions there. Fell all the way back to 8th. There's the Rocket. Zach Lockett restarted 3rd, and has lost 5 positions, but he's still a +7. Steve Tuck in that 10 car. Let's talk about him for a minute. Up 10 positions from where he started from, running 9th right now, and he's getting ready to get in on the mix here, as we got 9 laps to go here in stage number 1 to the first stage break. And we're going to see a lot of the same strategies as we saw last night in the World Cup race apply to this one, especially in that middle of the stage pit stop. I would almost want to run those tires out, at the end of stage one, run that all the way through stage two if you can.
Well, and what I was hearing from tire numbers during the first practice, and hopefully the weather, track temp, and all that are the same. They, if they weren't driving crazy, really pushing and trying to hug the bottom too much, if you're letting her float like mid lane or whatever, they were wearing pretty decent on the rights anyway.
Yeah, checking out their Discord chat this week. I know they were very unhappy with the Iracing setup. That Iracing gives you for the default setup, and I know they kind of modified it to kind of make that tire wear just a little bit better. The thing is too, guys, is you can actually go in there and kind of free the car up just a little bit through your master cylinders, your steering offsets, and a couple of other little changes, but not too many changes can be done with these 6 setup cars. You pretty much have what you have.
And believe it or not, steering ratio and offset, you could run it one way and actually burn your tires more because you're oversteering all the time. Me, I like to slow mine way up, like I'm driving a pickup truck, so I got to make big arm movements so that I know and I listen, my tire setting for tire noise is louder than anything else. Cars, engines, all that stuff's down. I want to hear what them tires are saying every lap. It's all by listening to go, I'm hanging too long coming out of the corner, I'm burning up the right front. So you can do your adjustments, kind of seat of the pants, or in this case, vibrations of the steering wheel.
We're on board with Chuck Van Scheidt, driver out of Levittown, PA. Never been to Pennsylvania as a Midwesterner, but I do. We are from the home of the greatest beer in the land, and that's Budweiser, and all things AB. I know Shane would probably speak differently.
Oh no, I'm an equal opportunity drinker, Alan, as you know. But yeah, I certainly want to agree with what Hanover was saying. I think a lot of drivers do that. I love to have that steering ratio, as slow as it can be, so that I can save that right front as much as possible. Only use what I need, and then absolutely turn up that tire squeal so you can hear it. And then kind of the next one I ended up doing was adding some bass shakers to the rig for the same thing. Let me feel that tire squeal in my body, even if I can't hear it. It certainly pays off at a track like Charlotte, where you are trying to save tires and be fast at the same time all night long.
Actually, I worked that out way, way, way back when with Tony Trapasso. Tony and I kept working on that, trying to get the best. What are you setting it at? I like mine up. And then I tried it and went, yeah, you're right. I can hear exactly where the tires are talking to me, And once I got hooked on that, again, that's my life force, especially at these tighter tracks where tire wear is really big on these older tracks where it eats them. And yeah, it's not just throttle steering, it's listening to that tire and knowing how much you're pushing it too.
Yes, the great late Tony Trapasso, and who the booth is named after here at Sim Racing Media. And Hanover, to your point, a lot of guys, if you meet with some of the SRM guys, they've all got a Tony Trapasso story.
Tony used to, he used a couple songs I did. I'm a musician too. I got some stuff up on YouTube. But Tony would take some of my instrumental stuff, so it worked for him. He'd use some of them when they were first working on getting the broadcasting going. Up stage.
And there is the stage. Yep. Your stage one winner going to be the 81 of Evan Patinko. The drivers had really spaced themselves out. I feel like earlier in the stage, before that caution, everyone was still pretty tight. We saw the leader maybe 3/4 of a lap around to the tail end of the field. But this group, they were all spread out, as some of those lap cars, like Adam Ball, were able to get that lap back. It looks like Patrick Colby fell back into the clutches of the leader, but he is in that lucky dog position. And that will set us up to have 16 drivers still on the lead lap after this round of pit stops. And while the drivers make up their minds about that, we will send it to commercial and be back for the restart here at the Icon Cup Series on SRM. Welcome back to the Icon Cup Series as we have wrapped up the Stage 1 pit cycle, and we are coming back to the green flag. Evan Patinko with Jonathan Duncan and Steve Tuck are your top three, and we are racing again here at Stage 2 at Charlotte.
Stage 2 underway as we are back to green flag racing. Evan Patinko out to an early lead here. You know, and once again, we're joined up here in the broadcast booth with Hanover Fist. And Hanover, you know, you're more than welcome to stay as long as you want. You can stay for the whole thing if you want. It's great to hear the essentially the points of what we talk about week in and week out as here, we definitely
Ooh, wall touch
love,
there.
yeah, we definitely love it when drivers come up here. Hate it for the circumstances in which you're up here, but nonetheless, here you are, and we're glad that you're making the guest appearance tonight, and able to even swap stories of the late great Tony Trapasso, and like I said, he's loved here so much, in iRacing in general, and with the SRM family.
And again, happy to be up here. I'd rather be down there driving, but they said not yet. So, not yet. So, but right now I'd be just maybe a car or two up from the very back of the field right now, because I'd be saving through this whole stage.
And Cody Neal getting sideways out of turn 4, trying real hard to stay in front of McNeil and Glazer. He's going to keep that position for now.
Ooh. McNeil grabs the wall just a little bit, gets the proverbial Charlotte stripe. Sorry to cut you off there, Shane.
No problem. I mentioned there were 16 cars on the lead lap heading into that pit cycle. 3 cars took the wave around, so now we have 19. And Jacob Smith in the 4 is currently in the lucky dog position. Remember, he got that pit speeding penalty on entry there under the green flag cycle.
Yeah, definitely. Stage 2 going to end at lap 120. Here we already got some drivers testing out that outside wall, making sure it'll stand even against their cars. Working lap number 70, and right here there is definitely more action in a Waffle House at 3 a.m.
Well, and you've got a mix of tires here too. Some that took some at the break, and then there was that group that went in just before. So, which makes different corner entry speeds, which is why you see when everybody starts coming in and they almost kind of bunch up. That's a lot of that's the different tire wear variations.
Definitely, as we're watching that number 15 car, Anthony Teseo. We're actually on board a driver out of St. Clair Shores, Michigan. I've only been to Detroit, and whoa, he goes around live on the air. Yellow flag is out, and oh no, just gonna back it right into the fence.
Yeah, I mean, as we were riding on, I was going to say it looks like he's racing 3 wide, but I think what it was, he was 2 wide and trying to make a pass on someone, so he was holding the middle line, and I don't think the driver to his inside appreciated that too much. Let's see what we can see on the replay. Yeah, it's the 10 car right here. He tries to make space to shoot the middle. The 10 says, hey, we're too wide. Where are you going?
Well, the 14 dropped to the bottom, too, which suddenly made it almost 4 wide. And you had nose to tail where you weren't quite clear. So any movement, you're going to tap somebody.
It almost looks like he tried to create the hole that wasn't there.
And that happens.
Yeah, certainly.
200 feet down the backstretch, it looks like it's going to be there, but when you get there, it ain't there.
Yeah, certainly doesn't seem like anyone with some malintent here. Just a racing incident, 4 wide heading into turn 3. And he did back it into the fence, but not the hardest collision. He may be able to get some repairs done. He was already 1 lap down, trying to get back up with the leaders there.
I mean, he didn't Kyle Larson destroy his car like Kyle Larson did, but definitely went for the slide for life.
That's going to put Jonathan Duncan into the lead. And it's going to split our field. Our lead lap car is kind of in half on pit strategy here, as Patrick Colby in 9th and everyone in front of him stayed out there under that caution. So they last pitted at the stage, and most of them took 4 tires at the stage break. And then Brian Smith in 10th on back They just pitted just now, and most of them took 2 tires or maybe just fuel. That was a 5-second stop for Smith and Cody Neal.
Yeah, fuel.
And with doing that, do you think they can stretch it to the end of the stage now?
No.
Right, if we look, the longest anyone has gone on fuel tonight is about 40 laps. That's not quite going to get you there unless you want to save
get
a
you to
good bit.
111 or 112, and you'd be burping it on 112.
We may see somebody try to do it. Of this
Yeah, you get to
back group. Again, it's 10th on back are the folks who tried this. Also of note, Adam Ball and Nathan Finnegan are on pit road right now, topping off. That might be the way to do it. Give up a little track position and play a fuel strategy game. Keep your eye on that 6 car. I am usually the driver trying to pull that off, shutting off the ignition, coasting where I can to surprise everybody on a fuel move, and maybe 1 out of every 50 times it actually works.
Look, I'm the guy that thinks the leaders come in. The leaders are going to come in. I think it's a great idea. Let's stay out.
Unless I'm going for a lead lap point, in your overall standings. Unless I want that lead lap point, no, I'll go in. I'd rather have my stuff fresh.
Well, I tell you what, as we get ready to come back to green, here on lap number 74, Iracing.com pace car pulls off the field. Jonathan Duncan, Chuck Vianchek on the button through the Geico restart zone. And I tell you this, guys, there's one person on the face of this earth that I can drive absolutely bonkers when I stay out, and that is our good friend Dave Regal. I will get an angry text message from him if I stay out. Whoa, Ryan Smith gonna grab the no.
That's gonna be a yellow.
Steve Tuck involved in another one. That one kind of started back in turn 2 with him and Cody Neal, I believe, the ones getting the worst of it. Again, let's take a look back and see what happened. They're 3 wide with Brian Smith on the top, Cody Neal down low, and Tuck right there. Look, it looks like Brian Smith hits the wall, and there's just not enough room for them to make that. Let's see if we can. Let's go back and ride along with Michael Taylor. He has a perfect view on this one. All the way back to the restart. He just gets a great run here on the bottom. And right there. He catches a bit of that action too. But yeah, I think it's they just ran out of room.
These cars are so skittish once they've been tapped. So when one guy ricochets off the wall and taps the next guy, if there is another car to his inside, he goes. But there's one more car to the inside, seems like that inside car goes. It's like dominoes.
Yeah, and that's just a byproduct of racing 3 wide here in Charlotte. Is this track isn't as wide as you think it is?
See, in the car, to me, it always looks skinnier than when I'm up here looking down from the blimp or something.
Yeah, I think the in-car camera has a little bit of a fisheye lens to it.
Yep.
Yeah, again, I think the 10 and the 38 getting the worst of it. Jonathan Duncan still leading up front.
I think Brian Smith's going to be okay, but he might come down pit road anyways, just to kind of survey that damage, and he might not cause any damage really.
Yeah, I'll tell you who must have gained almost 10 positions there was Finnegan. We were just talking about him topping off under that last caution and kind of starting at the rear of the lead lap cars, but he's already up to P8.
Yeah, Nathan Finnegan running 8th, down 7 spots from where he started at. He started, well, make that 8 spots. He's going to restart 9th.
Yeah, as we take a look at that pit strategy again, your top 6 have stayed out since the stage. Then you've got 3 cars that came down under the last caution, and then another probably 10 cars pitting just now. And I think if you're pitting now, I don't know why you wouldn't try to make it to that stage.
I like the logic. I like it. My math really doesn't math. We do St. Louis math.
As we look at our leaders tonight, Brian Smith has led 22 laps. Evan Patinko has led 22 laps. Patrick Colby with 15, and then Duncan, Van Schaik, and Glazer each with a handful of laps led, as well as Hollinsworth. Or I'm sorry, Jacob Smith led a few. We'll see who else can get up there and lead some of these as we come back to the green flag. Jonathan Duncan in the 13 car going to get a great jump on the inside, pull away from Chuck on the outside, and Glazer's going to follow him through.
Yeah, Jonathan Duncan gets a whole shot. Bentley Glazer running second right now, but don't look now. Guess who's running fourth? The Rocket, Zach Lockett. As we got some drivers back in the back, grabbing a little bit of the wall there.
Yeah, I just spotted Ryan Patty. Look at this. Is that an A10 Warthog paint scheme? Warhawk, that looks great.
That is an awesome paint scheme on that number 30 car. The owner here, the big guy here at Icon, the guy that makes it all happen week in and week out, you know, battling Patrick Colby for that 6th position. As the sun starts to go down, and it's not in their eyes anymore, the lights are going to start to come on here. We're at lap 81, 80 laps into the history books right now. Ryan Patty down 2 positions. He started 4th. He's running 6th, currently getting ready to battle the Rocket Zach Lockett for the top 5 spot there. Here he goes, making a move to the inside. And, you know, Shane in Hanover, Zach Lockett has not seen the bottom of the racetrack all race long. He's kind of been married to that outside, as we got numerous drivers scraping that wall.
It's where you're comfortable at. Many guys, they'll run that high line. Me, Charlotte, Homestead, a lot of those tracks, I'm a bottom liner, you know. I'm only up on the top if I know I've overdone the tires and I'm trying to, oh goodness, you know, cool them off a little bit. I'm a bottom line driver, but I've had battles where the top line guy didn't give me any break, and we fought for lap after lap.
Yeah, in the dirt world, we call that the cushion. That's where I'm running at, especially on a dirt track. Even though we're pavement, right in here tonight on the old-fashioned dirt track, I'm going to run that thing right up against the wall. And speaking of right up against the wall, there is Brian Smith. Nothing looks to be damaged on that car after that last caution involving the Evan, or you know, the 10 car and Steve Tuck and others. But right, ooh, we got a little bit of contact. Michael Taylor in that number 08 car getting into the back of John McNeil.
Yeah, this group getting really racy here.
They were just discussing it between each of them. I just caught that on in game.
Michael Taylor may not be happy with that move.
Now they both sounded like, well, we made it, one of those.
I tell you guys what, man. Sometimes when I get into the race car, you get a little spicy Allen coming out, and sometimes that'll make your night go from bad to worse also. So Shane and Hanover, you both do race control. How do you combat someone that gets a little spicy over race radio? Do you at that point just be like the cheerleader and kind of calm the driver down, or?
I have my in-game button set to race control, and I just key it up. If two guys are starting to argue, I just key it up and hold it till I think they're done. And if I let go of the button and they're still arguing, I push the button one more time and clear my throat. They know that means if I have to do this one more time, somebody's getting parked, because we don't play that game.
Yeah, in my league, we kind of have a basic rule of if you key up, you better be saying thank you, sorry, or pleading guilty for a caution. That's about all we want to hear.
Yep. If you want to get yelled at, you go run official races. Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, right now,
That's why I run league, all the time. It's just I don't want to hear all that stuff.
If only Iracing had the ability to make it a one-way race communication controller. I mean, think about it. Could you imagine NASCAR Radioactive, that you see on Fox or FS1, if these guys were able to talk to each other?
Yeah, who knows what's being said in the private race control chatter. So we kind of have a breakaway group here. The top 6 all running pretty close to each other with a quarter of a second, with Ryan Patty in the back, and then Patrick Colby trying to keep in touch with this group. And then there's a big gap back to Hollinsworth, the Smiths, Michael Taylor, Jake Champion, and some others getting still in that side-by-side. We saw so many side-by-side battles here just a few laps ago. It seems like it's really spaced everyone out.
Yeah, you're used to seeing those two different groups during, at your Talladegas and your Daytonas. Not really to Charlotte. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Now, Chuck Van Schaik, it's no surprise that he's up there leading this piece in that number 23 car. So good at saving fuel. If there's one person that's going to take a chance in that third stage to run it all the way out to the end, it's going to be Chuck Van Schaik in that 23 car.
And he is sitting out front, just in front, off the bumper of Jonathan Duncan. This front group kind of seems content to ride like this, and that makes me think, like you said, that they might be saving fuel, as those top 5 drivers have not pitted since the stage. They don't seem to be saving enough, by my calculations, to make it all the way. Maybe hoping for another caution.
Yeah, we're definitely not seeing times drop off at all, really. They're kind of just, they're all within a half second of each other. Want to thank everybody for watching us here in the youtube.com live chat. Cody Eldred, they were making a new session. But make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Get those bells ringing so that way you're notified every time the Icon Cup Series comes on the air with myself and Shane Cochran here. And, the Chevys were short of tires. So the 4th time is a charm. We want to thank Ryan Patty for taking the time and making that session the way it needed to be, and a little bit of a delay, but here are 95 laps in.
And you can go to their homepage on YouTube and bookmark it and put it in your favorites. That's what I do.
You know, and a lot of you drivers, I don't know about your setup, Hanover, but in my setup, I usually have the race broadcast on, so I can see in person how bad I am while I'm racing.
I have a dedicated rig, and the only things on that machine is Iracing, my sub-programs, World of Tanks, World of Warships, and World of Warplanes. That's it. My other machine does all the internet stuff. So if I'm streaming, then it's, in that one, the problem is my right monitor blocks it. So I'd have to lean my head like I'm trying to look out the passenger side window to see it.
Speaking of YouTube, Lucas Weinberger, Wertenberger says, hashtag free Vinny.
Really, the car that's been doing the most side-by-side battling here is the 48 of John McNeil. He's running P10. It just seems like every time I look back at him, there's somebody that he is fighting with, either a lap car or a lead lap car.
Yeah, it seems like some of these drivers just have their guys that they cannot get away from. John McNeil and Kyle Gilbert's that way.
It's that way in every league. I had my drivers in all the different leagues. It's like, do you have to be near me? Can you not slow up and let me go by or get ahead of me further? It's just you always seem to be near them.
As we are now on lap 99, as we mentioned earlier in the race, we are going to do a lap of silence here on lap 100 in honor of Memorial Day and everyone who has made the sacrifice for the freedoms that we enjoy. So for now, for this next lap, we are going to be silent. And there you have it, as always, a special shout out and appreciation for all the veterans and their families around the country, letting us enjoy racing here on iRacing or in real life. As we see Van Schaik tag the wall just a little bit there as a lap car went around him on seemingly fresher tires. Again, everyone getting really spaced out here with the different pit and fuel and tire strategies. The furthest we've seen anyone go is 40 laps on fuel, and that is where our leaders are at now in this run.
I think they tried to stretch it out with this being the second stage. And, we have still one more stage to go. I really think they're going to try to stretch it out. Some of these guys.
2 more stages?
2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2. Look, we do St. Louis Path. Sometimes
We're all used to 140 lap races. You throw that extra 100 on, it throws everything off.
and it's a Monday.
That too.
Alan's got a case of the Mondays.
Yeah, as a reminder to everybody watching, this is a 4-stage race. That second stage will end around lap 120. As we see Bentley Glazer hits pit road, the first of that front group of folks who hadn't pitted since the stage end before. Just behind him is Hollinsworth. But your leader still out there. Oh, sideways on the front stretch.
No.
Had to use a bit of the Roval. That's going to let Jonathan Duncan sneak by.
Maybe he was watching a broadcast too.
Multitasking can be bad.
Right along.
Caution.
Oh, was there a caution? Oh, let me jump back. Sorry, I was going to ride along for that front stretch excitement. But you're right. Yellow flag is out. I don't see anybody slow on track. Maybe the... Who is that? Somebody on the backstretch just behind the... 57 is moving slow. I can see him on the map, but the number is wrong.
Oh, the 97 had troubles coming out of the pits. He got up and she caught the apron to track the blue to white line, and it spun him. So once his car, the back of the car came out onto the track, that was your yellow immediately.
You got it, Hanover. There he is. Just gets a little too close, spinning up into the racing line, but not collecting anybody or making contact. Lucky there. That's the third car we've seen get loose on the pit exit. Those first two cars spun out on the bump. But Hollinsworth just trying to get every mile per hour he could to rejoin there.
As the late, great Tony Trapasso would say, he stepped on his junk.
And it's, you know, if you're coming out of the pit, if you didn't change tires, you got some junk on them. If you change tires, you got a cold tire that's low on air pressure. So, and that's not the nicest apron, so it can happen very easily.
Yeah, no, I've fallen victim to that apron numerous times. I've hit those bumps so hard it's actually downshifted on me.
As we take a look at Van Schaik, able to save it. He did lose the lead to Duncan, but no worse for wear. That could have been so much worse. Getting loose out of turn 4 usually doesn't end that well.
Yeah, that was so fortunate for Chuck Van Schaik, as he did some free landscaping on the Roval and used every inch of that truck. Never really got out of the throttle and just stayed in it.
Sometimes the minute you lift, especially in this car, it just fails. It seems like sometimes you're better off keeping them wheels torquing and not locking your brakes up, and you can get lucky and she might correct itself in the grass. Might.
And just like that, we have the most confusing pit strategy we've had so far tonight. We've got John McNeil is your leader, and he had a 4-tire stop back on lap 76. Jacob Smith on his outside had a fuel-only stop on lap 76. Kevin Gunther behind him had a 2-tire stop around the same time. And then Cody Neal also pitted on lap 76 and had to get some repairs done. Just behind them is Adam Ball with a fuel-only stop in the same group here, as well as, is that Brian Smith? No, he pitted a little bit further back. Yeah, so I think Adam Ball is the last one in that group. Then everybody behind them just pitted, and it looks like they all took 2 tires with the exception of Ryan Patty, who took 4. Kind of doing some detective work here to read through the numbers and pick out who's on what strategy. But we're going to have about 9, 10, 11 laps to go here in stage 2 with just a real hodgepodge of tires and fuel situations up front.
Yeah, some definitely some strategies, and well,
You're sort of at a sprint race to the stage right now.
And we're going to ride along with Brian Smith. He's the first car on fresh tires on that stop. See what he can do early. Again, 11 laps to go to the stage. McNeil makes it to the bottom out in front of Jacob Smith in front of this group. Then Gunther and Neal fighting here, but they're going to make that outside line carry all the speed. And you can see what fresh tires are worth, even if it's only 2. Brian making his way up past Gunther. Looking to clear him here. Ooh, as Jacob tags the wall as well as Michael Taylor.
Yellow's out.
There
Backstretch, 2 cars.
Patinko involved. Take a look at that. Ooh. And the 51, is that Nyman?
That is Nyman.
Nyman there again. That kind of looked maybe a little bit of net code, but it almost looked like the 81 got loose on his own before they made contact. Either way, both of these cars going to spin. Oh, and the 85. I want to say he nearly avoided it. Was he able to get it back under him? No, big contact into the wall.
That will effectively end your night.
Yeah, Ethan Vencali.
Ooh, yeah. That's a terrible spot to try to catch one where you're going between 2 cars. That apron, it sends you up so easily towards that outside wall. There's still a fender bouncing down there.
So stage 1, relatively uneventful. Stage 2, well, that's a different story.
It's going to set us up for about a 7-lap sprint. Here at the end of stage 2, we still have 19 drivers on the lead lap. Handful of those with damage, though, getting repaired on pit road. Again, the top 4 drivers have not pitted since lap 76. They are trying to stretch the fuel mileage to the end of the stage. Brian Smith and Jonathan Duncan are the first 2 cars who stopped under a caution and a half ago. Again, guys, this is we only had 6 changes of tires available in this race. We've already had about 5 or 6 cautions. I hope everybody's been keeping track.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you come into pit lane and you think, did I, uncheck my tires, or are they checked? I use Digital Race Engineer, and that helps quite a bit with that, because as I'm hitting the end of pit lane, it's reading off what it's going to do. So I got from there to my stall to yell at it and tell what I actually do want, what I don't want. So some programs really can save you time and money.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like everybody's got their favorite trick here and there. Some people using DRE, some people using Crew Chief. I always have opted just to map out a button box that I've got beside me. When I hit pit road, or even when I come off of it, I hit the clear button. That's the first thing I do. And I kind of hit it like you hit clear on a calculator, a couple times extra just to be sure.
Well, and Dre also, DRE, lets me do admin stuff all just with a push of a button. And so when you're pacing in a pack of people and they're warming tires, it's easier to push than do a mouse or you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Again, it's like, well, it costs you per month. Trust me, as a race admin, it pays for itself.
And we are lined up 2 by 2, do-si-do, grab your partner, let's go. Jacob Smith on the outside of John McNeil. That pace truck driver really earning his keep tonight. Shoots down pit road. McNeil leads us back to the green flag here at Charlotte. 7 laps to go in stage 2. And as we've seen all night, McNeil and the leader getting a great stop, a great jump here on these restarts.
think it's that outside there, the inside line getting the advantage all the time. But don't look now, here comes Jacob Smith and enter Cody Neal. Also, Brian Smith getting in on the mix. These guys are going to be loving, touching, and squeezing all the way to the end of the stage.
Again, that jump doesn't always help because then the group behind you, you know, you're a solo car, that group behind you, they just start gathering up momentum and just come, you know, like they're doing now. Here they go. Oh, 4 wide almost.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that, but Cody Neal got out of shape in the second half of the front stretch. Went way down low, was able to squeeze up in there 3 wide without hitting anybody. That was a nice move to keep it safe, but it's going to cost him a couple positions.
It's a long race.
As now Nathan Finnegan takes the lead with Ryan Patty close in tow.
I'm not surprised that these guys have, not, as we call it in the dirt world, knocked the deck lid out of this thing, but as many times as they hit the wall.
Really seeing Finnegan and Patty use those fresh tires to get to the front. Neal is still sliding. There's a couple cars down below the blue line. Right here, this pack, as McNeil continues to fall back, there's a car on the wall. No shortage of door banging here on lap 117.
Some of that is the guys that were trying to push the length. Now their stuff is starting to get, they don't have that accident front stretch.
There it is. And that is going to mean that Nathan Finnegan will be the Stage 2 winner, I believe, as Tizio and Van Schaik involved in that one.
Just hated for those drivers involved in that crash.
So we take a look back. Oh, ooh. Yeah. The 15 just got loose on turn exit, kept it out of the wall, but just barely tagged Chuck there. Let's go back and ride along for that one. Yeah, you can hear him out of the throttle. Yeah, as the sun has gone down, it seems like the turn 4 and the front stretch have just gotten really loose.
Yeah, and when you come up to turn 4, to me it seems like those cars get really, really tight or really, unhappy coming off turn 4, and it almost
they're kind of binding where the front end is wanting to plow up a little bit and the back end's teetering on loose, so the whole car's wanting to come up a little bit. If you don't catch it right away, yeah, you're going to do the ricochet out the wall every time.
Yeah, the thing again. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, as we head down pit road here on lap 120, we are going to take a commercial break and be right back for the restart of Stage 3. As always, thanks for tuning in here with the Sim Racing Media for the Icon Cup Series. Welcome back once again here on SRM, the Icon Cup Series, going green flag here, the beginning of Stage 3 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the World 240. And we are moving again. Ryan Patty takes them back to green. Great start for him. It seemed like the inside car, the 14 of Gladulich, did not get going. Might have been in the wrong gear there for a second.
Yeah, rocking and rolling through Stage 3. This time we're going to get to lap 180 for the end of the stage, and Ryan Patty doing Ryan Patty type things, leading this field. He's got Jacob Smith right behind him. Cody Neal looking to the inside, or to the outside rather. Looking to make up some spots over the 14 car of Gladulich. Gladulich.
Thank you. Feel free to correct us on any of these names that we've been getting wrong.
Well, it's only because I got used to hearing them said to look at them and spell. I'm Nordic from the Midwest, and I still can't pronounce half the names that are there. Learn guitar by ear, too.
Well, look, here, I always say this. If we're wrong, the YouTube.com live chat will always almost correct you.
Especially if it's a relative, a wife, a friend. If they're in there like, no, dude. Yeah, there's always feedback.
Yes, and whenever I got married, 10 wonderful years ago, going up on 11 in October, I told my wife, said, congratulations, you now have the most misspelled last name ever.
I'll tell you what, Alan, I feel like every time we dig a little deeper into our lives, we find more parallels. I think we graduated high school the same year. My wife and I also are celebrating 10 years here. I think we're just living in a parallel universe.
The class of 2005.
Yeah.
If that didn't make Hanover feel old, I don't know what will.
The 51 getting tight there. Up the track, keeps it straight. Jacob Smith made his way up to Ryan Patty and goes around. He's not quite going to clear him.
Ryan will make him work for it.
Now, right now, Ryan and Gladulich are the two drivers that didn't pit there for the stage with just about 15 lap older tires. But it seemed like almost everybody using this stage pit opportunity to take 4 tires and really see what their car can do.
And that goes back to, are you going to try to make the full, stage, or are you going to split it? That more strategy.
I think the guys in the back around that, the 20th position where Chuck Van Schaik is, they're about the middle of the field. I think they try to make it. I mean, you really got nothing to lose.
Yeah, right now, 20 cars on the lead lap. Chris Camburn is your lucky dog. And he is, I think he might be the only car 1 lap down, so he's in a pretty safe spot there for that next caution.
Chris Camburn just might last longer than Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I'm not a big Kyle Larson fan per se, but always kind of pull him to see what he can do with the double. And man, what a disappointing Sunday he had.
Okay, so I asked this question, yesterday with Jonathan Leach when we broadcasted an Indy 500 race. So hypothetically, you get an Indy 500 ride, and you go on to win the race. What milk percentage is it? Whole milk, 2%, 3%, or 1% or skim milk. What milk are you drinking in victory lane?
Oh.
Yeah, I feel like, what was it, maybe 5 years ago, you'd look it up, and there were 20 different types of milk, skim milk, almond milk, everything there was. This year it was like 98% of the people chose whole. Only a few drivers took 2%. No non-dairy at all.
It coats more evenly going over your fire suit.
Yeah, I've never gotten out of a hot car and thought I would love a big glass of milk, much less to pour it over my head. But yeah, I think I'm going whole. I'd take a milkshake if we could get that.
There you go.
Concrete from the local custard joint. But I tell you what, though, Jacob Smith continues to lead this one. Brian Smith is not going to make it easy for him, and Jacob Smith is not going to make it easy for Brian Smith either.
And that 23 car, that is Chuck Van Schaik with damage from that previous caution wreck. And he is dropping back, losing more time. He's going to need some more repairs to be competitive. But that does put him in the lucky dog spot, kind of stealing that away from Camburn. As Cody Neal gets by Ryan Patty. Woo. Everybody, if you're not touching the wall, you're pretty close.
Look, if you're not touching the wall, you're not having enough fun.
Drivers really settling in to what their car can do, how close they can get to the wall. Most weekends we might be coming into the end of the race here around lap 135, 140, 150. We're just over halfway here in the World 240.
Ryan Patty, kind of under attack right now from Michael Taylor and John McNeil, as they're going to think about going 3 wide, and I don't think Ryan's going to let that go down too easily.
McNeil almost all the way to the wall and then cuts it down low on exit. Going to give him a run on Taylor.
It's crazy the closing speed or the closing rate that these cars have to one another. I mean, just when you think you got some distance between you and the car in front of you, bam, he's right there almost. Ryan Patty definitely on defense, and John McNeil definitely in the catbird seat, kind of backs off. You know what? You guys can burn up yourself getting around, around each other and battling it out. I'm going to lay back and try to save my tires as much as possible.
There's big race strategy, and there's I got to win every lap strategy. There's some guys that no matter how long the race is, that they've got to get to the front every single lap. And a long race like this, that just eats up your stuff trying to do that.
Yeah, there's no reason to race like it's the last lap here on lap 138 when you still got a long race to go. And to your point, I was actually one of those drivers myself who would race the front when I'm back there in like 28th. So I've really learned to race the cars that are essentially around me, and not so much the leaders. And kind of just take what the car gives you.
Race the track and avoid the other drivers. That was always my strategy. I do a lot of roading too, so it's race the track. You can't control what the other car's doing. He could be doing good. He could have a boo-boo. If he does, that's when you take your shot. It's just maintain your stuff and don't burn it up, and just consistency every lap. That's it, especially in endurance racing. Every lap, just the same numbers that you can.
These three still stuck together, looking 3 wide.
And guys, guess what? We got 99 problems, and a back connection isn't one.
Whew. Everybody a little loose on exit there, trying to keep it side by side. Michael Taylor going to start to pull away up to P4.
One driver taking the pit lane.
That would be that 14 car.
Yep.
Ryan Petty just is staring down the tailpipe of that John McNeil number 48 machine at McNeil Media. Johnson Duncan are going to go around both of those and try for that 2-for-1 special.
Looking back at P13, that's Adam Ball. We've seen him kind of be all up and down the leaderboard here tonight. Maybe pit strategy hasn't played out for Adam just yet. But it is a long night and a long race.
Speaking of long nights and long race, Wednesday night you can catch Mike, the Money, and myself. Well, that's an off week. Wednesday night you can catch myself and Dave Regal on the Outlaw Sim Series. And Shane, I do appreciate you filling in for that race as my boy had a high school graduation to attend to, and had a lot of fun with that. And he made me feel about
there.
90 years old.
Sorry to cut you off, Alan. Finnegan gets into McNeil, and then cars splitting them both as McNeil is now sideways on the front stretch grass.
I don't think he was done wrecking. That may or may not bring out the caution.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. Almost like he was thinking about hitting pit road, or he'd gotten loose and slowed down for another reason.
I think one may have tried to call it, but he didn't have the same radio channel, so nobody heard it. So
it's like a tree falling in the forest.
Take a quick look at that. As McNeil was...
sounds like Nathan's wasn't broadcast. It wasn't picking up the all teams.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we see it.
And then a pretty amazing save, or 2 or 3 here. You hit those bumps, especially in this next gen car right there. You can see able to hang on to it. Gonna be okay.
Yeah, they do some free
He's definitely
landscaping.
got that rear bumper caved in, but otherwise, still moving. He is going to hit pit road, though. As up front, Jacob Smith, Brian Smith, and Cody Neal have really separated themselves from these other drivers. And Finnegan is taking some damage to his nose off of that. Drop back to P12. And he is almost a second off the pace of some of these other drivers up front.
I mean, we only got 30 laps at the end of the stage. 32 laps at the end of the stage. And this is where the fatigue of just being in your iRacing rig starts to set in with these long races. I mean, these guys, like we mentioned before, usually around lap 150, we're usually calling the guys to the white flag.
We're getting ready for post-race interviews.
We are.
Bentley Glazer and Michael Taylor trading blows as Taylor gets in the wall. And then we're now going to see Ryan Patty hitting pit road, and Nathan Finnegan Gotta think Finnegan might be there more for repairs than for strategy.
Yep.
Patty just missing that kerfluffle. As now McNeil is right in front of the leaders. Going a little slowed down with that damage. But he did get 4 tires on that stop, so he's in front of them and maybe faster than them if he can get his momentum going. But it was a bit of an awkward moment as our 3 leaders came up on him.
I mean, if John McNeil was in a Toyota, I'd say he's going places, but he's not.
Actually, he's pulling away nicely from those 3 cars.
Yeah, he is just 1 lap down. Not in the lucky dog position, though, but keeping himself from going 2 laps down could really salvage his night.
John McNeil running away from Jacob Smith like he owes Jacob Smith lunch money right now.
Well, you can shoot yourself in the foot doing that too, because if you I want to get a gap ahead of these guys, and then you burn your stuff up, then you're right back where you were. So there's a fine line of taking advantage of that fresh too.
So we see Jacob Smith now hitting pit road. Cody Neal and Brian Smith staying out at least 1 more lap.
As we approach into stage number 3, you got to wonder who was able to save the most fuel in this run here. Is Brian Smith's going to go right around at Cody Neal in that number 38 car. And you got Jonathan Duncan, who's a little over a second back.
Yeah, almost every car in the top 14, all 36 laps into this run. That seems to be where everybody wants to come down. Taylor and Glazer still going at it. It's a battle for 4th place. So we come up on 38 laps on this fuel run. Looks like Brian Smith and Cody Neal both going to hit pit road. And this is kind of that part of the run where it becomes a gamble. Do you want to stay out as long as possible and hope to trap some of your competitors a lap down and sacrifice some long run speed if it stays green? Oh, we see Neal actually slide through his pit stall. That's going to cost him a few seconds. Champion and Bloom now on pit road as Duncan comes down, and Michael Taylor's going to follow him. That leaves Bentley Glazer as your leader. Your top 10 cars have not pitted yet. They have all driven 39 laps on this tank of fuel.
Bentley sounds like he's coming in. Yep.
There it is. And that's going to leave Patrick Colby your leader. And you can see Brian Smith, 2 cars back there in his mirror, working hard to unlap himself. Ooh, Colby trying to hit pit road.
Oh,
Oh,
hang on, dude.
with
Gets the 31
Gunther
car.
sideways. I'm seeing Glazer picked up a black flag, probably a speeding penalty during his pit stop. But Colby
I think he
and
got shoved a
Gunther
little bit there.
seem okay in terms of black flags, but not okay in terms of a smooth pit entry. As we see the 51 going through the infield just in front of the leader.
I mean, they do
Close
use a
call. There's Glazer clearing his black. Yeah, close call there for Brian Smith as he came up on the 51 who was trying to save it after a trip through the infield. Gets into the wall but keeps it straight.
Every time one heads down to the infield, you flinch because you know there's got a good chance of a ricochet or they get turned on the grass, and here they come.
As I look back, before those pit stops, we saw Smith and Jacob Smith and Cody Neal. They were all tightly packed together, but Jacob Smith opted for 4 tires while Brian Smith took 2, and that's why we've got almost a 2-second gap between them. You can see Jacob back there behind that lap car of Kyle Gilbert. And there's a 51 hitting pit road.
That gap from Brian Smith to Jacob Smith has now opened up to about 2 seconds right now here on lap number 163. Want to thank everybody for joining us here in the youtube.com live chat. Watching on your phones, at home, on your TVs. I've even watched some of these races on a 50-inch television. So anywhere that you have smart televisions, go ahead, get on YouTube, look up Sim Racing Media and the Icon Cup Series, and settle in for a great show to the end.
Yeah, it looks like that 51 car also picking up a black flag somewhere along that pit road visit. That's going to hurt him.
He got there via the grass and then ended up taking a tow. So, yeah.
That'll do it. Now everybody really spread out. This is the closest battle on the track here between Duncan and Taylor for P6.
Once again, you're hearing the voice of Hanover Fest, the driver of that number 69 car, who has been kind enough to join us up here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, dude. And, well, next week at Nashville, he's going to be back in the car. Now, Hanover, are you intending on running some laps at Nashville to kind of get acclimated and in the feel of the being back in the sim rig after some time out?
Tuesday night, I will just race control, sit in my rig and push the buttons as I need to. Thursday night, I'm racing at Homestead in the ARCA cars. I'll cut my teeth on the ARCA car Thursday night because, again, I got to get my racing during the week to keep my streak going. And then I just drove Nashville in a Cup car here a week or two ago before all this medical stuff. So, and I've always liked Nashville. That's why I'm more than happy to drive there against these guys.
Yeah, and this is, this is going back to, I mean, Dale Earnhardt drove the GM Goodwrench with a broken collarbone at Watkins Glen. So, I mean, maybe you'll come back at Nashville and just wipe the field. I don't know.
I doubt it. There's a lot of alien drivers in here compared to me. But again, I had my teeth yanked out. I didn't miss that week. I had another little surgery, and I didn't let that. So again, I wasn't gonna let the heart attack break my streak. So I'm trying to Cal Ripken it.
Well, once again, we're so glad that you're on the other side of that injury there, and we'll call it an injury, and the universe's way of giving you a timeout for a week or so. But working lap number 170, and we got Michael Taylor right in the top 5. The Rocket Zach Lockett running in that 6th position so far. But it's all Brian Smith all day long here, as we had 9 laps to go here left in stage number 3.
Yeah, the field just incredibly spaced out at this point. We have just 13 drivers on the lead lap, as Smith is really burning it down. He is the fastest on the track, and he's pulling away from Jacob while also putting more and more drivers a lap down.
Well, an arrow push I was hearing during practice was real. If you were sitting behind somebody, you're oversteering to keep it from wanting to take off and run up the track on you. So I think a little of this gapping, even when they're kind of close, you'll see them taking different lines to the corner. Everybody wants to try to save that right front as much as possible.
So we got to know. We know you've been in the Discord for practice and whatnot. Did they end up switching the setup?
Oh, for this race?
Yes.
Yes. This is not the default iRacing setup for here. I'd offered in one of mine, but they had another source. They thought that, so they went with that one. But
6 laps to go left here in stage number 3, as we're at lap 174. Part of the longest race of the Icon Cup season right now. You joined up here in the booth with myself, Alan Bergen, Shane Cochran, and our special guest tonight, Hanover Fist, as we're watching Chris Camburn in that number 88 car.
Yeah, we've been talking about Chris all night as he's been in that lucky dog position seemingly over and over and never quite getting it. Right now, the 11 car in front of him has it, and he is trying to get it, with just 5 laps to go to get back on the lead lap. And he is catching him. And there it is. That's going to put the 88 car in that lucky dog position, as long as Nathan Finnegan, who is the last car on the lead lap, doesn't get caught by Brian Smith here. Oh, no, actually, Smith has already lapped him and Gunther.
Yeah, I was going to say, they show a lap down on mine.
It's going faster than I can keep up with it. With that, now Ryan Patty is going to be the next car in danger of going a lap down here before the stage. You can see him just out of frame in that Warhawk paint scheme.
Now, right now, Brian Smith is going after win number 6. This has been amazing. It seems like after Darlington, it's been win after win after win for Brian Smith.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he found these rocket boosters here in stage 3, but I mean, he is flying out there.
It's the Johnsonville sausage, I'm telling you.
I mean, Patty is going to have to work hard here. There's a lap and a half to go. Maybe 2.5. Depending on when exactly through the stage. Usually it's when the leader completes the lap. And there he goes. Patty has nothing to say about it. Maybe he's hoping that'll put him in the lucky dog position and McNeil can stay out in front of Smith.
The auto caution system they're using, I use the same one. At the once a lead car strikes the start-finish line at the end of, in this case, lap 180, it'll automatically trip.
Got it. Is that
which is way better than manually doing it, which we used to have to do, which was a pain.
For sure. Is that the iRace Control app?
Sim racing apps.
Okay, yeah. And
There's a subroutine in there that I got handed that by someone and said, use this, and it works great. You just got to remember to update it and save it each time you have a different length race, or, why is the caution out? Oops,
yeah, and here it is. McNeil going to have to fight for his life. He's in 10th position. Looks like he is going to keep that spot here at the end of stage 3, and Brian Smith gets it done. There it is, your stage caution. And for the last time tonight, we are going to take it to a commercial break and gear up for the 4th and final stage of the World 240 in the Icon Cup Series on SRM. Welcome back. Stage 4 action here in the World 240 for the Icon Cup Series. It has been a battle of attrition as cars have been wrecked out. pushed into the wall, spun on pit entry, pit exit, picked up penalties all over pit road. We've seen cars in the infield, cars into each other's bumpers and doors. But right now, Brian Smith and Jacob Smith are leading this race. It's a little bit of pit strategy playing out there. Brian Smith picked up some extra speed. So we still have drivers hitting pit road to make repairs and top off. All right, we've been racing for 3 stages. For the most part, people have been taking it easy. But now you've got to be getting tired. You don't have the patience you started with, right? The doctor's office is closed. There's no more patience. I know.
And the meds are wearing off.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meds are wearing off. We're out of patience. Look, it's go time. We're on lap 185. We're going to come back to green with lap 186. Let me burn that calculator.
You can't treat it like it's going to be a heat race and you're going to go, because you still got to stretch it out to make that 240, you know.
Look, we got 55 laps to go.
But I mean, you aren't going to do that on a fuel run, and you're going to want to try to sneak in, and if nothing else, throw 2 fresh on the right side to hopefully milk it to the end.
One of these drivers that are on the lead lap right now are going to try to make it to the end. 55 laps, pack it full of fuel, get to the Geico restart zone. 55 laps to go here at stage number 4. We are back to green flag racing.
Now, if you can find a pocket behind a couple cars so that you've got a little bit of that, you know, aero pocket to ride in, so you're not using as much throttle. And you might be able to save enough that way and stay current with the group. But, you know, you try to do that, and you're always going to be burning, so you end up falling back a little and just hoping they have to pit and you can make it.
Yeah, a whole handful of drivers picking up black flags there as we see a bunch of them coming down pit road. Ryan Patty, one of those drivers. Gladelich, Hollinsworth, Kyle Vincent Gilbert, Charles Woods. I'm not sure if that was all related or not, but it's a lot of black flags. The most we've seen really all season on a single lap like that.
Yeah, be careful coming back on the pit road. Where are those guys going to blend in? It's going to be deep in the field.
Well, since it was a mandatory stop, you know they're going to at least throw some gas in to see if they can stretch that a little more again, you know, to make up for that.
I'm expecting a couple of these guys to go off sequence.
I've done it and it's worked, and I've done it and it bit me really bad.
Lap number 190, 189 laps into the history books. Brian Smith continues to lead over Cody Neal and Jacob Smith. Question is who's going to be able to save? You know, here's your thing. Here's the thing also. If I'm your crew chief, I'm telling you to save. Maybe run 3/4 throttle. Maybe even run half throttle. These guys are going to be doing every trick in the book that they know of, even under caution. Turn that car off, restart it, clutch it in the corners. I've seen guys even turn the car off going into the corners.
Again, that can bite you if everyone else isn't kind of doing the same trick and their pacing speed doesn't match your go and then coast thing. I've nearly caught somebody that way, and it's like, took me a second to think, why is he slowing up? So, oh, I know, he's trying to, you know, freewheel it.
Jonathan Duncan, the last car on the lead lap here, running ninth. He's up 5 spots from where he started from. So far, the biggest mover of the race right now is Evan Patinko, up 19 spots. He's currently running in the 6th position. But it's been all Brian Smith now. Towards the end of the stage, Brian Smith went to work on some lap traffic. That is going to be the case here as the last car on the field that's running, which would be that number 57 car of Taylor. He's going to be in danger of going another lap down to Brian Smith here in about, I'd say at least another minute or so.
Well, we only have 9 in the lead lap right now, too.
You know what I just noticed is Ryan Patty is not on the lead lap. He did not get that lucky dog. Like we thought he might.
No, there was something that happened. He was mentioning that, and here, guys, I'm going to end up doing this because somehow it didn't look right, and it's league owner. You want to make sure it looked, like not like you're trying to pad your own, So he just took it and fell back that lap.
Oh, you're right. I think that he was one of the cars with the black flag.
Yep.
They're under caution. So that leaves Chris Camburn still in the lucky dog position, doing everything he can to get that break. Cody Neal almost sent it 3 wide there. Trying to get around John McNeil. Michael Taylor throwing the block on Zach Lockett.
Yeah, Zach Lockett doing everything he can to get around Michael Taylor right now.
Some drivers are okay to pass. Some drivers are just a pain to get around.
Oh, we've got contact. Cody Neal into that inside wall down the backstretch. That is not what he wanted to see. We stay green.
I was going to say, we're going to stay green. He's going to keep it pointed somewhat in the right direction. A lot of damage to that number 38 car.
So they came off the turn. Well, I don't know. That just seemed like a disagreement over a couple inches of space. McNeil going to be all right, but Cody Neal, the 38, that is likely going to end his shot at victory here tonight.
And I tell you what, that's going to make that Christmas card list a whole lot shorter.
He has dropped back to 9th position. Last car on the lead lap. Still driving, though.
.41 laps to go here from Charlotte. And right now, it's the battle of the Smith on Smith action. Zach Lockett still riding in that 4th position right behind Michael Taylor. Michael Taylor not giving up 3rd place so easily. He says, nope, I don't think so.
Yeah, Smith really isn't running away with it like he was after that last green flag cycle.
Again, I'm thinking he's pretty much kind of gone into I'm just going to stay fast enough to stay ahead mode because he's trying to save himself,
Oh, there goes another car. Patinko sideways. Duncan.
There's your yellow.
Oh, and John McNeil gets caught up in that one, too.
This is where you pit, and fill that fuel tank as much as you can.
So take a look. Yeah, it kind of looks a lot like that wreck we just saw with Cody Neal. Both drivers just side drafting too aggressively, it seems, down the backstretch.
And again, this car does not take a whole lot to get it disturbed at these 1.5-mile tracks.
Let's ride along with McNeil as he caught the tail end of that one. You can see those two cars already down on the apron. He goes high to try and miss it, and Patinko is sitting there waiting for him.
They both came to the conclusion that maybe they should have gave each other a few more inches. It was politely done.
And this is exactly the kind of issue we expect to see at a long marathon race like this. You know, being able to side draft aggressively but safely is something that takes a lot of focus and precision here at Charlotte. And hey, we've been here a couple hours. It's starting to wear on these drivers.
And it only takes one little tiny flinch, you know, you just, or you know, you come around that corner, you know, 180, not 200 times. That 201st one, you come around, you're just a little off your line previous, and the car acts different because you're not that same rotation, and it's easy to then oops and, you know, step on your junk, as Tony would say.
Yeah, I think one of those drivers is gonna have to buy the other one a beer, or maybe both. But guess what? Chris Camburn got the lucky dog after working so hard for it all night long. We see him coming down pit road, getting some fresh tires, full tank of fuel. He is sitting in P8. Not a bad spot to be after being a lap down for so long. He's really just kind of outlived all of these wrecks. As more and more drivers get taken out, more and more drivers go multiple laps down.
Again, the vulture technique. You wait till the rabbit trips and then you go for dinner.
John McNeil, on top of being involved in that wreck, picked up a black flag. I'm assuming he just entered a closed pit road to get that damage repair started.
I think that would have effectively ended his night. That might peg the proverbial fun meter.
Well, and sometimes you're better off just to pull her in knowing you're going to get it for, you know, entering. But if your car's that bad, to try to make that lap around, I've seen the car die, you know, so you're halfway around and you'd been better off if you just pulled in and took the penalty.
Guys, I think we can make it from here. I mean, we put a lot of gas in it. The Sunoco racing fuel, you know, here we are at 204. We got, what, 36 left to go. I think
34
we can make it.
by the time we actually go green. So, yeah, they should make it without a problem.
Yeah, the only person that really has to worry is Ryan Patty. He did not pit since lap 186. As he took a wave around there, that is going to get him back on the lead lap, as well as Jonathan Duncan. So there are 10 cars now on the lead lap. So you see these guys battling. Nathan Finnegan now in that lucky dog position. And he might have unlapping himself the hard way in mind as he gets around Patinko. I talked about it earlier. Adam Ball has been kind of up and down the leaderboard all night long. And right now he's on the up, riding in 4th position 12 positions higher than where he started this race. And I think at this point, anyone on the lead lap has got to be feeling pretty good about making it this far.
I know I'm feeling pretty good about making it this far.
And his car doesn't look too banged up either, so.
Not at all. Another driver running a Memorial Day paint scheme, an American flag theme. Looks like that's by New Graphic Designs. Looking sharp. Zach Lockett behind him. Also running one of those red, white, and blue schemes. As they run side by side for fourth. Jacob Smith starting to work his way up to Brian's bumper. And this field really gets spaced out quick. We know with so many lap cars with just a little bit or a lot of bit of damage, we're not seeing that big pack racing we saw at the beginning of the night. I think there might only be 7 cars that don't have some sort of damage, and we are looking at them right now.
Just over 31 laps to go here. 210 laps being working on at 210 now, 209 in the history books. And Shane, to your point, you know, these guys are trying to really just take care of their stuff right now. We're going to see everybody get cranked up to the north side of crazy here on, well, with about 20 to go, I would say.
I was going to say the last 10. You'll see everybody's strategy. If it's working and it's gotten them fuel mileage, then they'll go, you know, let's go. You know, they're going to have at it. But if it didn't work, you're going to see them just trying to hang on and not lose positions. So there's that fine line either way. You could either, you know, go for it or just, please don't pass me.
Lockett working the outside on Michael Taylor. Just seems like these two are really locked together right now. No one willing to give up P3 to be in striking distance of those Smiths up front.
Just to say that, the Rocket, Zach Lockett, just strapped on the proverbial rocket suit and, well, made an idiot out of me.
Jacob starting to press the issue up front. Ooh, as Camburn tags the wall. And kind of that lucky dog race is heating up as well as we look at Finnegan effectively riding P6 in line, but he is in 11th place, the first car 1 lap down. And just behind him, or 2 cars behind him, is Kevin Gunther, who is trying to catch Finnegan and steal that lucky dog. But if we stay green here, neither one of these guys are going to have a shot to fight with these folks up front.
I just think Brian Smith is just a little too strong right now.
Yeah, he has now led 79 laps this evening.
And clean air is always a blessing. It makes you, you know, yeah, you're pushing more of the block of wind that affects your mileage, but your nose sticks to the ground way better.
I will say this, just as I said that, Zach Lockett has now moved up in that third position, finally getting around Michael Taylor, and he's closing in on both of these guys.
He might even get a little help from Finnegan, too.
Yeah, Nathan now fourth in line. He's going to play a factor in this one way or another at this point. So they go around the lap car. Chuck Van Schaik. He's been doing the honest work of logging laps with that damage, just in case he can catch a few more positions. And doing a great job to stay out of the way of the leaders most of that time too.
Yeah, a lot of times if you're running a damaged one, your steering wheel's cocked a little bit. It's hard to hold that bottom line. And different groups behind you either want you down the bottom or want you up on the top to get around you. You know, and there's not always communications. There's guessing where they're going to be, and it makes the racing interesting. It breaks up the laps anyway.
181 laps to go. Your top three right now: Brian Smith, Jacob Smith, and the Rocket, Zach Lockett. Here comes Nathan Finnegan trying to unlap himself.
Yeah, and he's been pushing so hard. That's what really broke up this group. When he got behind Lockett, he just started pulling away. John McNeil rejoins the track. Three of those Buddy Motorsports cars in the top 5, 4 of them in the top 7 right now. Brian Smith, Jacob Smith, Cody Neal, and Michael Taylor.
At just 19 laps to go, Michael Taylor falling all the way back to that 7th position.
Finnegan almost all the way up there now. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Zach Lockett really needs some help to maybe have a shot at Brian Smith and Jacob Smith.
You can see how hard these drivers are fighting to keep Finnegan a lap down because they don't want him to be involved if they can avoid it. Yeah, I think at this point we're going to see how much speed Brian Smith has. So he holds on to the lead and tries to keep Finnegan from unlapping himself. Smith continues to be the fastest car on track.
I mean, that's what a second looks like. There's the eyeball test. If you're Zach Lockett, the sands of the hourglass are starting to run out more rapidly.
We have a couple drivers hitting pit road. Woods and Colby. I think they had both stayed out to try and get one of their laps back on the wave around as Finnegan gets really loose there out of 4. Finnegan just 0.02 of a second faster than Smith that last lap. It's going to take a little more than that.
Zach Lockett has really fallen off the pace of Jacob and Brian Smith.
Well, when you're chasing, sometimes you can burn yourself up, whereas they're running that consistent lap, you're trying to catch up on it. And you can burn your stuff up doing that. Whereas if you just, tried to stay equal to them running those laps, then you'd still have something for the end like they've got. So, that's strategy.
Finnegan having a bit of a loose moment there, losing that track position back to Jacob Smith. I get the feeling he used everything he had to catch Brian and doesn't have enough to get around him just yet. Meanwhile, Ryan Patty did eventually have to pit. He ran out of fuel. He didn't run out of fuel on track, but he ran out of fuel in the tank and needed to pit. Again, he had taken a wave around to get back on the lead lap in that last caution, so not catching the break he needed to stay in contention. We have just 9 cars on the lead lap. Evan Patinko is 9th, but he has a big gap back to the leaders as he still has damage from an earlier incident. Michael Taylor in P8. Jonathan Duncan, P7. Chris Camburn up to P6 after catching that lucky dog. Then it's Zach Lockett in 5th. Cody Neal in 4th. Adam Ball 3rd. And then a good bit ahead of them is Jacob Smith continues to ride in 2nd with Brian Smith out front as we have 11 laps to go.
And right now, Brian Smith is effectively turned on the afterburners and put a second already between him and Jacob Smith with just 11 laps to go. Coming to get 10 to go this time by.
Battle for 3rd starting to heat up between Cody Neal and Adam Ball. They might not have the speed to catch Brian, but this is a battle for the podium. Who gets to talk to those good-looking broadcasters up in the booth? As Neal goes down low. It wasn't that long ago we saw Neal going head first into the inside wall on the backstretch. He was able to get whatever repairs he needed and make his way back up to the front.
Yeah, what a recovery run for Cody Neal. Closing in on Nathan Finnegan. I just don't think he's going to have enough laps to catch Jacob Smith or Brian Smith.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cody Neal was a half a second faster than Brian Smith that lap. He really picked
I'm
up
watching
some
it
speed.
from the blimp, and you can kind of see that gap is closing up. Not real quick, but it is closing.
You can see he is gaining consistently on Jacob Smith these last couple laps. 1/10 there, 0.5 there, 2/10 on 2 laps ago, and then another 10th last lap. 2/10 faster than our leader. I kind of have the feeling all 3 of these drivers are going to be converging on one another right as this thing winds down, with Finnegan stuck in the middle. Jacob has caught Brian now as they are working their way through lap traffic. That's the 81 of Patinko up ahead. He's the last car on the lead lap.
That's what Jacob Smith needs right now. 5 flanges in the air, 5 laps to go. This could be the move of the race.
Yeah, I can't tell if that lap car is helping or hurting either of them. Both of them looking to go around him here. Jacob thought about splitting the middle. Saves it for the next corner. He's going to build some momentum on the outside, but had to lift right at exit. Now Finnegan all over his bumper. This is allowing Cody Neal to come back into the picture with 4 laps to go. Neal another 0.2 faster than our leaders that lap.
That traffic is playing well for him. It's just enough to slow those guys up, and he can get, closer to shooting range.
Yeah, Neal actually tagged the wall there, coming out of 4. That made his lap time match the leaders. 3 to go as Jacob tags the wall.
Jacob's got to make the move right now.
Two laps remain. We've been going for 238 laps already. We've seen cautions, penalties, cars spinning, cars beating and banging off each other into the wall, into the grass. And there they go, side by side. It's going to be a battle between Brian and Jacob Smith as they come and take the white flag. Jacob pulls out in front. And Cody Neal is there too. Neal down low.
Up and gave him the free shot at him. He said, go get him.
Smith a little squirrely. Brian Smith, that is. Trying to keep P2 away from Cody Neal. And it looks like Jacob Smith is going to drive away with the victory here in Charlotte. The World 240. Count it for the 4. He is your winner with Brian Smith and Cody Neal just hairs of a second behind them to finish out that podium. What a finish.
Oh, wow. Great job to Jacob Smith out of Northville, Michigan. He's getting ready to burn it down. I cannot wait for these interviews.
Beautiful shot here at the start-finish line with the fireworks in the background. All 3 drivers getting in on the fun. They earned this one. How about that? Oh, somebody just blew a motor. They're having fun out there as we're watching Jacob Smith. Let's go ahead and get started with our driver interviews. Looks like nobody's there yet. There's Cody Neal. We'll go ahead and bring him in to chat with you, Alan. Cody, you got Shane and Alan and Hanover in the booth. How you doing?
Good. Another good night for the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just a little bit short of the win here, but nonetheless, what a team win here tonight as you guys got most of the Buddy Motorsports team on the podium. Take us through that last lap and what more you could have needed to get around your teammates.
Oh, man. I don't think I could have gotten it. Maybe if there was 2 or 3 more laps where I could have set something up, but hats off to Jacob and Brian. They fast for sure. Hopefully we can keep this trend going and get Mike in victory lane next week in Nashville.
Absolutely. Before we get you out of here, who do you like to thank and who do you want to tip your hat to help you get done here in this number 38 car?
Of course, Brian and Smith for putting in the work and giving us all the information during the week. He turns lots of laps. Whole team, Buddy Motorsports and affiliate Great Lakes Racing. They had a rough night tonight, but hopefully we can bounce back next week.
Okay, one more question.
Yep.
Since you finished third, if you were to win the Indianapolis 500, what milk would you drink? Whole milk, 2%, skim milk, or so on and so forth?
2%, absolutely.
All right. Well, congratulations on the third place finish. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Next up is Brian Smith. Brian, you got Shane Allen and Hanover in the booth. You got a copy.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I can already hear the disappointment in your voice. You led 102 laps, going for the hat trick here, coming off the All-Star race. Tell us about your night.
Felt super good all night. Car was a ton of fun to drive. Shout out to the admins for putting a little bit of looser set in this thing. It was much better tonight than it was last week. It was super fun. Open. Yeah, when the daylight was still out, the track was a little warmer. It was a lot of fun. This thing was you actually had to get out of the throttle and let it roll, and did a good job managing the tires all night. Nailed the pit strategy, did everything right. And I think Jacob just did a little better job saving tire there on that last run. I was a little concerned about, letting someone else go and wanted to stay out front, so I kept my pace up. But, I guess he just did a little better job than me. But it was nice to see a teammate get a win. And just like last week, meet Jacob and Cody sweeping the podium. So that's awesome. Awesome night for Buddy Motorsports. Wish I could have held on for the win, but hey, I guess I'll take second and a bunch of laps led.
Absolutely. A great team performance. Great points night for you. Like I said, you led over 100 laps. Really impressive. As always, who else you got to send any thanks or shout-outs to?
Shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast. Shout out to Waylon for making this awesome paint scheme. And everyone did a great job tonight. A lot of green flag racing after the slow start, if you will. So I guess shout out to the admins for getting all that figured out. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. And again, congrats to Jacob on the win. Hanover, I hope you're feeling better, dude. Saw your message in the group chat, so I hope you're doing okay. And we'll be back at it next week in Nashville.
As I like to say, they just took the restrictor plate off, so I'm back to full horsepower. But yeah, again, next week I will be back for Nashville.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, congratulations again on the podium finish. We'll see you again next week, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get our winner up in the booth, Jacob Smith. Jacob, you got Shane Allen and Hanover in the booth. You got a copy.
Hey, guys. Yep, we got a copy.
Well,
Look, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Look, man, what a race here tonight. Beating out two of your teammates to score the victory. Take us through that last lap, and when did you know that you were going to be able to get by Brian Smith?
Yeah, that was a great battle all night. Last lap, last two laps, I just had saved a little bit of tire sitting in his draft, and it was going to be close on fuel, so I knew I was good on fuel, and I don't know. I had the run, had to take it. We were side by side for a while, and I just don't think the high side was very good at the end. So staying on the low side, Brian decided to guard the top, and it just didn't work out. So glad we stayed on the bottom and got this Midwest Euro Parts Ford Mustang in victory lane.
As they say, got to go where they're not, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. Look, man, once again, now we go to Nashville next week. What's going to be your strategy as you work through that race there in Nashville?
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually done a race in Nashville, so probably going to have to put in a little bit of time this week. And I know Nashville's pretty flat and concrete. I like the concrete track, so hoping to have a good run next week, and let's just see what pans out.
Well, look, man, one final question before we get to your sponsors. You won the race. What kind of milk are you drinking in Victory Lane tonight?
I'm drinking 2%. Not a whole milk guy, not a skim milk guy. Skim milk tastes like water, so I'll take the 2% all night and go take a shower in it.
All right, man. Well, before we get you out of here, who do you like to take and who helped you get it done on this war car?
Yeah, the Midwest Euro Parts continues to sponsor every week, so they're a big help. MidwestEuroparts.com. They've been a huge help this year, and all the guys back at the shop, Buddy Motorsports. You got Brian, Cody, Mike. Everybody had a great one. I know we were running 1, 2, 3, 4 at one point, so I'm just glad we were able to replicate last Sunday's podium. Another podium sweep for Buddy Motorsports. We got a lot of momentum going.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations on that win tonight. Go drown yourself in some 2% milk and enjoy this victory.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Whew. That was a marathon of a race. Came down to the last lap, though. Just incredible how that one wrapped up. So we take a look.
Yeah, my arms would never have made this length of race.
You have to turn down the force feedback on a night like this.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, as we take a final look at our results here, Jacob Smith bringing it home with the victory. Brian Smith in second, Cody Neal third. Adam Ball finished fourth. Zach Lockett, the Rocket, finished fifth. Jonathan Duncan sixth. Chris Camburn finishing seventh. Michael Taylor eighth. Nathan Finnegan ninth. Evan Patinko 10th. Ryan Patty, Bentley Glazer, Kevin Gunther, Robert Bloom, and Kyle Gilbert wrapping up your top 15. Jacob Gladelich in 16th. Hollinsworth in 17th. Patrick Colby 3 laps down in 18th. A lot of these drivers back here had good races going and then got caught up in some of those cautions. Charles Woods is 19th. Chuck Van Schaik 20th. Thomas Taylor 21st. John McNeil 22nd. Jake Champion 23rd. Daniel Nyman 24. Anthony Tizio 25th. Ethan Van Collie 26th. Steve Tuck 27th. Nathan Brzezowski 28th. Cody Eldred 29th. And as Alan would say, the first one to the beer stand tonight was Brad Delph in 30th.
Shane, we're going to close this one out a little bit differently tonight. You know, with the Memorial Day weekend, you know, week in and week out. I want to thank you guys for, you know, all the work you guys do here. Shane, you're taking over producing the show very well. But Hanover, since you're in here, and you know a lot of the other guys close the show out like this, Shane, Hanover, as we walk through the streets of life, as the late great Tony Schiappa would say, please don't play in traffic.
There you go.